Welcome to the Best Damn Podcast, brought to you from I Music and Podcast Studios in downtown Boulder City. This is your host, Jill Lagan, CEO of the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce. In each episode, we will highlight what makes Boulder City, home of the Hoover Dam, the ideal place to operate your small business, explore world-class tourism attractions, and discover why we are the perfect place to live and unwind. Today is a fun day. We get to talk a little bit about some history of what happens here in Boulder City when you grow up in this community. And we also are going to get to learn a little bit more about what's going on in the real estate business in Boulder City. Today I've got Mr. Bret Runion, and he is one of our favorites. We love to talk and visit with him, and he is with Desert Sun Realty. And I cannot wait to have you all hear some of the fun stuff we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Bret.
Hello there. I'm very honored to be here and always love spending time with you, Jill.
Thank you. So, Bret, you are the reigning champion of Best of Boulder City in real estate, and congratulations, 2 years in a row.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. That's a great thing you put together there in starting that in Boulder City. We'd never had anything like that before. It got us out there and interacting with folks, and it's been fun. I've enjoyed the little competition for 2 years that you put together.
Thank you. So we've had the opportunity to really understand and see what other communities do, and then understand that our community, you guys are busy doing business. You don't have the time to get too chaotic and fight everybody to every day vote, 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 vote. So the one and done concept really works for the most. But I have to say, you took it to the next level for us, and it was great because the postcard, the direct mailer that you did the first year that got the word out about the program started people thinking, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I got to find this for other businesses as well. And so we had people that would call us because they got your postcard, but they wanted to vote for, a pet sitter or something completely unrelated. So thank you. And your added marketing was awesome.
We always try to work with you guys anytime we can. The Chamber of Commerce has been so important in this community, and we love to be a partner with you guys on most anything.
Well, thank you. And so a little bit of going back to that history side of things, we are in the process of digitizing all of our scrapbooks clear back to 1932. So Dorothy Helms, who's an amazing volunteer, she is the one that did all of those scrapbooks. And now Monica Preston has taken that on for her. And we've got Lori Rodriguez, who is digitizing everything so that we can preserve that history. Because I go back and she'll have the books out on the counter as she's turning those pages, and you get sucked into it. And you find, oh my gosh, I had forgotten that Bob Blair was a former chair of the chamber, and some of the funny and crazy things that they did. And I think it was Rich Bauman who was laying on the grass of the golf course, and Bob was pretending like he was going to swing. Rich had a tea in his mouth holding a golf ball, and it was like Bob was going to swing and hit that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
they might have actually really done that.
They could have done it. I don't know. But anyway, some of the crazy things that have taken place, I love those scrapbooks and learning about some of the wonderful people that are even still in a leadership position today here in Boulder City, some of the fun stuff that has been done and for our benefit.
It's fun to look back and see who all's been involved in the different activities around town. I had the benefit of being here over a period of time where I got to meet a lot of those characters and work with them. And it's a shame, we lose some of those people every year. Mm-hmm. And a couple recently, obviously. But I feel just blessed to have been around when some of those people were here. To go back, when I first started in real estate, Elton Garrett was still a realtor in Boulder City.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So this was 37 years ago. And we get together for real estate tour. It used to be really regular. Every Friday morning we'd get together and do our tour around town. And Elton Garrett would drive his big old giant Lincoln Town car up to meet. Back then we'd meet at McDonald's or someplace. And he would come up and sit down, share camaraderie and stories, share coffee. And then he'd jump in his he was a little guy in a big car. You barely see his head over the steering wheel, but he would drive that big old car all over town. But it was just so cool to have been here when Elton Garrett, a name that everybody knows from the school and whatnot, but he was here since the 30s.
Yeah.
And to have stories like he has is just amazing. His office was part of what is now, I see, Big T's or, the Damn Brew House, one of those.
Really?
I
I
have to
didn't
think
realize
about
that.
that.
And
Yeah, Big T's. It was in the alley there.
so
Yeah.
that was his realty office.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
Yeah.
So, I wish we could go back and we could record some of those stories and have those oral histories.
For certain.
So we're completely off track, but I have to go with this.
Okay.
So do you know if the museum currently has some of those oral histories of individuals?
They do have oral history there. And I would bet that Elton Garrett is part of that. Because back when they started that was in the 80s and early 90s. So there's quite a bit of that.
So important.
I haven't listened to all of it, but yeah, that would be a good one. You'll have to have Dennis McBride on your podcast sometime.
I should. I love him.
He'd be a good source for those kinds of questions.
Yes, I'm going to make a mental note of that. Thank you. That's a great suggestion.
The museum is such an amazing thing for our town, and I was on that. One of the things that I'm most proud of is being part of the group that basically helped preserve the museum. Of course, owns the hotel, but I was asked to get on that board many years ago. And when I did, our debt for the museum-owned hotel was just short of $1 million. And the payment on that, as you can imagine, was quite high. And there's only 20-something rooms in that property. It's hard to make enough money to pay a mortgage payment like that, even with the restaurant rent and everything. So times were kind of challenging, as we all remember, when the economy was tanking. We got so bad, you might remember this, that they actually closed the hotel.
I remember.
One day they put a chain around the doors. Sorry, we're closed. Threw away the food in the freezer. We literally had no money to keep it afloat. And when we'd have our meetings, one of the first things Roger Schoaf, the general manager, would tell us is how many days of cash we had on hand. It wasn't weeks or months, it was days. How many days can we stay open? And eventually it got to zero. We had to close down. But that closing down was probably one of the best things that could happen because it did get everyone's attention.
Right.
And everybody realized what an important thing that the hotel and museum are and to our community. That hotel is like the anchor of Old Town Boulder City.
Right.
And been here and has stories from the original days of the construction of the Hoover Dam. But at any rate, that's when we decided that we needed to hire a fundraiser. We'd always just tried to do everything on a volunteer basis, and that's hard. So we hired a professional fundraiser whose heart is in the right place, and she was fully vested in the whole project, and that's Leslie Woodbury. So I was super, super proud to be a part of hiring her and putting that together and to help her raise the money that we did to basically secure that property forever was truly one of the proudest things I have in our community. And, I'm very, very, very involved with our community and very proud of anything I can do to help. But that is probably the thing I'm most proud of. And by the time I termed out on that board, we had the debt under $200,000. So that was low enough to make sure that it'll be here forever. Since then, they've done an even better job of paying it down. And before I left the board, I helped get my son involved and my stepson, John Calvert. And John's been on the president and chairman of the board longer than I was now. So I was involved for about 10 years. And so it's in good hands. My son, Grant, is on the board, and John is the president, chairman of the board. That museum board is a great thing for our community.
I agree, and I'm glad that, another Boulder City residents are part of that board, and both of them growing up, they have a passion for it and understand the importance and the values. So
it's the next generation.
Exactly.
That's always great when you can hand something off to the next generation.
And that they care about preserving history.
Yeah.
That's something that we all get concerned about is what's going to happen to all of this knowledge and all of this information, and how do we preserve it, and how do we make sure the next generation knows and understands it so that it doesn't get into a situation of a large debt in the future. realtors. So we're excited about that. Thank you for all of your community support and
Sorry
the
to go
different
down that.
passion projects.
Yeah.
So let's go back to real estate for a
Yep,
second
you
here.
got it.
And if you can kind of share with us, so obviously everybody knows what a realtor does, but I think there's aspects to what your business is that people may not know much about. So I know property management is a facet. Can you maybe share a little bit about that? But then also, I think it's just the idea of connecting that buyer and seller and making everybody's lives better. I would imagine you have some really cool stories.
Certainly, probably don't have time for those today. But the interesting thing about the real estate business is it gets down to relationships and helping people. That's really all we do. You know, if somebody wants to buy a house, we'll help you buy a house. Somebody wants to sell a house, we'll help you sell that house. But the only thing I really feel that I sell is I sell Boulder City. And when people show up, they don't know about Boulder City. And how many times have I heard somebody say, you know, I moved to Las Vegas 10 or 15 years ago. I had no idea that Boulder City was even there.
I hear it daily.
I know. And if I would have known, I would have checked out Boulder City then. But, you know, by then they're kind of stuck in another part of the world. But once people do show up here, you and I know that, you know, there's so much to learn about this place. You don't just drive through and realize this is the awesome community that we know it is. So the first thing we do, I've always thought, and most important, is selling the community. Let people know what's here and what we have to offer. Once they realize that they want to be in Boulder City, well, the real estate side is fairly easy because there aren't that many to choose from.
Right, there you go.
So it's the selling of Boulder City that I think has really kind of separated me and my operation from a lot of others. If you don't live here and, you know, live and breathe Boulder City, how can you really sell Boulder City, right?
Right. It's the story. You're selling the story, telling a little bit about the community, the people in it, the value of living in a community that's tight-knit and has history and roots. And I think that selling the story is really very easy. And I can imagine, like you said, once you do that, they fall in love with it. They want to be here. They'll figure out a way to find a house.
And it isn't, many times it isn't their dream home, right? They have a vision of what they want in a house, but once they realize that the community is more important,
quality of life,
than the house they live in, now maybe they're willing to make some compromises on the house to live in this community. Because frankly, like I said, you don't usually have an option of buying a new home in Boulder City, so that's one thing that people have to come to grips with quickly. Our newer homes in Boulder City were built in the 90s. You know, if you think now they're 30 years old, and we call them newer.
That's right. That's the new subdivision.
Yeah, right. So these are things that people have to really kind of get their head around. But again, the big stuff is Boulder City. Growing up here, living here almost my whole life, it does give me an advantage in that. And people see my passion and how much I love Boulder City, and it's contagious, and they can pick up on it. And then, I don't know, just that's an important thing to me. And I don't want everybody living in Boulder City either. So.
I noticed, too, your staff, we're going to ignore that one comment. So I know your staff feels the same way. They are just as passionate and they are just amazing. They've got such amazing customer service and follow through, but it's because they love what they do and they love the community that they're in and the people that they're working with.
My office is full of Boulder City people. Every year we have an ad in the Boulder City High School yearbook. You know, we try to support them, and we hardly ever say no to anybody. If they come to me, you know, we want to help. So anything to do with the high school, middle school, the elementary schools, we're all in. But
by the way, the girls' basketball team is looking for some sponsorships, just to pass that along.
Send them our way. So back to I can't even remember when we first did that, but we have an ad that runs every year in the yearbook. It's a full page. And basically, one day it dawned on me that, first off, half the people in my office graduated from Boulder City High School. And the ones that didn't, almost everybody had kids that went to Boulder City High School.
Right, yeah, that's true.
So crack open a yearbook sometime and look for our ad, you know, and it lists every realtor that graduated from Boulder City High School or had kids graduated from Boulder City High School that's in my office.
That's
Not just
cool.
realtor, everybody in my office. So you'll see like my name, 85, 14, and 16. Anyway, for my kids
your
graduated
kids,
in 14 and 16. Anyway, it was just kind of a fun thing. The point is that I built our office with Boulder City people
Right.
because I want that to be ingrained in everybody.
It makes a difference. It makes their job easier, right?
For sure. And all of our people know how important it is to get involved in the community. And it's something that I've really worked hard from the beginning to get everybody out there getting involved.
So one fact I must make for clarification is the class of 87 would have been the better one than
Yeah,
85.
Yeah,
Just wanted to make sure everybody knows that.
I'll let you have that for now.
Thank you, because otherwise I'm going to bleep out anything else that you say.
But watch the turnout for events around town. You'll see that class of 85 is everywhere.
Yeah, they all are. I'll give you that. It is fun to see our friends, though, isn't it? I know the community spirit, the high school spirit. It's hard for me to hear other people that they don't have a good high school experience or they don't go to class reunions. I'm like, you don't go to your class reunion? That's like a must. I can't wait to see my friends, and I cannot wait to see those kids I grew up with. And gratefully, we still have so many of us that are all still home.
Being involved in the student government in high school through so many a couple of key friends of mine moved away, so I've been in charge of putting that reunion together most years. And I won't mention names. But anyway, he did come back this year, and he's going to help put together our 40th.
Oh, my
which is crazy, isn't it?
gosh, 40.
Yeah, we're working on that next. But
That
yeah,
is
it's a
scary.
big deal to get everybody together. Last time our reunion hit on COVID year.
Oh,
So,
no.
Yeah. So we didn't have a 35, so this is going to be a big one. But our 30-year reunion was huge. We had great turnout.
Well, we love the idea that we get to hang out and see those people that we spent so much of our lives with. And I'm so glad to, like Ron Eland, and, Keka's
It's
still
good. It was
home,
good to get
Jenny
him back.
Garbat. We have so many of us, Becky Slocum. Just saw a bunch of them at the parade. And, of course, 4th of July is always the time that you get to see everybody.
For sure. And we were, at the last go-around, they were getting ready to tear down the high school. So we were there at the old school.
Yeah.
Rambled around a bit. Had a huge turnout for the parade. But the new trend seems to be to have the reunions in the fall. It's
I
a little
noticed
cooler
that, yeah.
and homecoming time. So the last few years have done that, and I think we're going to try that this year too.
I don't know what Keka's plan is for that, but maybe that's something we need to look at just because it's so crazy for all of us on the 4th of July. So many of us are involved in putting the parades on. So it might be smart to do it around homecoming where that's just school involvement, and then we can do something to support what they're doing. Great idea. I will make note of that as well. See all these notes I'm getting from you? Thank you. So I know that you have so many outside activities that you do, different community tasks that you're doing within work. What's something that's your all-time favorite? What do you enjoy working on?
Well, I've had a few passions lately. I've kind of tried to find some hobbies to get me away from working constantly, and I'll go to that in a minute. But I would tell you one other thing I'm really, really proud of. Again, I talked about the museum, and I hate to keep going off point, but that Rotary Club grad night.
Oh, yes.
When I first got involved with Boulder City Sunrise Rotary many years ago, I was asked if I would help with the grad night, all-night party. And it immediately took me back to when we were seniors. And it was a longstanding tradition to have your senior graduation party on the Strip in Las Vegas. And you just think about what a recipe for disaster that is.
Mm-hmm.
All these kids driving into Las Vegas, having a party in a hotel on the Strip, and then somehow finding their way back home.
Right.
And that had been going on for years. I talked to classes before us, and yeah, we did it at the Hilton. We did the Frontier. We did this. And you hear about all these stories. I'm like, holy smokes. It's surprising we didn't get more accidents
Right.
than I heard of a few, but it's surprising we didn't have more. Well, somewhere along the way, I want to say it's been 35 years ago or so, there was an incident, and Boulder City Sunrise Rotary decided they were going to start putting together this all-night party, drug and alcohol-free. And in the beginning, The parents were very involved, and they did it at the Water and Power Building, and it was an all-night thing, and it seemed like it was really fun. But as time goes by, it gets bigger and bigger. And nowadays, of course, the Worst Festival now funds the all-night party
Right.
and a lot of other functions for the Boulder City Sunrise Rotary Club. But that party every year, we spend about $30,000 on it. We take, I can't remember how many kids we had last year, but we take as many as we can get, whether you graduate from Boulder City High School or other high schools.
Right. I'm glad that that's been an addition.
Yep. If you're a Boulder City resident but went on to go to
A magnet
Las Vegas
school.
Academy or
Yeah.
any of the others, yes, you're still welcome. So anyway, keep them off the street all night, sober, and we keep them busy all night. So it's becoming harder to stay up with those kids, I'll tell you
As
that.
the years go on, it's
Holy
harder to
smokes.
stay awake.
And we always try to come up with something new because
Right.
you know how the kids are. They love surprises. This last year that I put it together, I believe that was my 7th party. And it becomes pretty all-consuming to put that thing together from start to finish. Transportation, entertainment, finding a venue, trying to be different every year. So last year, I came up with something new. We'd never done this before. And I didn't even tell the Rotarians what we were doing.
Really? And they
No
went
one.
for that.
They did.
Okay, so what did you do? Because I don't
First
remember.
off, they after doing it a long time, they trusted me, right? So,
Scary.
yeah, you know, I need all this money to put this together. Trust me, you know. So I did tell Michael Mays, he was the president at the time. I figured I better get somebody involved.
Yeah, he's
but
trustworthy.
nobody else knew, and it was kind of fun. So all the Rotarians, even when we left the high school gym, followed the buses, you know.
And didn't know where they were going.
Right.
Oh my
The bus
gosh.
drivers I had to tell. But anyway, yeah, it was awesome. We rented the entire Dave & Buster's.
Oh, cool.
It was really, really fun. Kids loved it. We had really good food, all you can eat.
Oh, wow.
And you know how kids are, right?
Yeah.
Food's important. I
Yes.
took pictures of some of the plates that the kids
gosh.
were going through there. And, you know, they've been busy all day
Yes.
with graduation and everything going on.
And it's the
photos and
emotional
everything.
roller coasters
Right.
coming down.
Well, by then, they show up, they're hungry.
Yes,
You know,
I bet.
It's 10 o'clock at night, or, well, let's see. We got to Dave & Buster's, I was probably 11, something like
Wow.
that. So we have the entertainment in the gym first. Anyway, it was a great event. Nothing but great feedback and short drive. So we didn't spend as much time on the school bus,
Right.
the charter buses, as we normally do. Bang, bang, done. We've went to Adventure Dome at Circus several years, but try to mix it up. But the Adventure Dome's hard to beat because it is this giant facility that's just ours.
Right.
The roller coasters are running, laser tag, you know, all the rides are going, and it's only us in this giant place. So it was always fun.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
But I did that several years. Just because I think it's so worthwhile. And the kids, I have kids even today come up to me. The first one I did, it was in 2009. So
Well,
that's
and
15 years ago.
Didn't you guys give away a car back then, right?
The cars were a big thing until a certain point when the kids all had cars, you know.
Not only that, but then the school district started giving out awarded cars. And I remember one year that gal, she won 2 cars.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, she
I didn't
ended up
know
getting
that. Wow.
the Rotary car, but she had earlier won another, like a Honda or something.
So now we give away cash.
Yes,
Every
love
kid
it.
can use cash, right?
Yes.
So at the end of the night, we're giving away about 10 grand and just breaking it up in pieces, and everybody walks away with something.
Yep, I love it.
Yeah, it's really been a great thing.
Have you checked out Spy Ninjas?
Checked out what?
Spy Ninjas.
No.
You got to check that one out.
Okay.
That might be an opportunity. And I don't know if, I don't know exactly what costs and things are, but we just went there as a family for Thanksgiving, and it was a blast, and everybody was able to do something. And I came away all scarred from axe throwing, which, that might be dangerous, but I just want everybody to know that I'm really good at it.
Very good. The idea is to find a place that you can lock down,
Yep.
totally exclusive, and it's hard. And it's from 11 to 2:30, something like
Right,
this.
if they're willing
So
to.
there aren't many great places in Vegas. And how can you keep these kids occupied for 3 hours?
Right.
That's just one part. We're in the gym and we do a lot of stuff too, but kids are hard to keep busy. By the time we're done with them, they're exhausted.
and they're ready to
come
go.
back. Yeah. Sometimes I'll find them sleeping in the floor.
Do you guys still do Lake Mead cruises in the morning for breakfast?
We haven't done that for a couple years, but that is something that's on the possibility list.
Yeah,
We bring it up every year, and it's always weather-related items are a little bit risky.
Yes,
right?
I agree with that. And it also lulls everybody to sleep. I remember getting very sleepy on
I remember
those.
a couple of windy times out there.
Oh, that's true too. You have to worry about that. So I know that Rotary is a huge passion for you, as well as the other boards and things that you've served on. And I very much appreciate you always being willing to help us with like Economic Vitality Commission and any of those that are all so important and what keep the quality of life, the business community, everything flows in a positive direction. But have you had in any of those experiences, have you had like an aha moment, something that has made you realize that the things that you're doing are for the right reasons?
Wow. That is, I have aha moments almost every day. I had a deal today that the lady was teetering on financing, and just I love to help people find their way through, be successful, and people get so excited when they're able to buy a place. And I just love to help people. And anytime that some of my experiences and my relationships can help, I just love that.
Yep.
And, when somebody says, hey, great job, I couldn't have done that without you, and they actually mean it,
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It really is.
It's
And
rewarding.
I think your parents instilled that in you. I just love your dad. And I think that, those kinds of interactions and the reason that you are who you are is because of them. Can you think of something that they have shared with you as you were growing up that they instilled it into you and then you use it today?
It's a great question. My dad had an incredible work ethic before he retired. I mean, even now he's still on the go. He every day, but he worked a lot of hours and worked hard. And I guess that probably rubbed off on me as much as anything, because in my career, I've worked some really, really long days. And I mean, it wasn't easy doing what I did. And I look back now and sometimes I'm amazed the amount of hours I did put in to make it work and still balance family. Because honestly, the family's still number one.
Right.
So how can you do it all? It's a struggle. It's a constant struggle, trying to balance family. And my mom is aging too, and I'm trying to, try to hold all that together.
Right.
And my kids are both living in Boulder City right now. And
your father-in-law, and so trying to make sure you're on top of all of that. He's got lots going on.
He's
and
96 now.
I know, and Priscilla, she's amazing and involved in all of those community things. And you're surrounded yourself with all of your family within your business as well.
Yeah, my sister Kelly still works for me. She's been with me a long time. But Priscilla's been a trooper, sticking through all that. And I couldn't do it all without her, that's for sure. She's right there behind me anytime I need anything. And
the glue that keeps everybody together as well. I absolutely love her. She's my bud. And I love John, but Lauren is she's my buddy. I love her to death.
It's great to have all these people. It's kind of funny that we were thinking the other day that, we live on the south side of the town down by the golf course. And we've been there for 24 years in that house. And within 1 mile, my son Grant, my daughter Summer, John, Priscilla's son, Priscilla's daughter Lauren, my nephew, Barney, my father-in-law.
Yeah.
My dad is just a little bit outside that mile, but everybody's within a mile of our house.
And so your brother escaped and went to Henderson.
He did. He ran away early on. My daughter, my sister Kelly is within a mile of our house.
That's incredible.
I know.
Well, and you probably found them all that real estate and kept them all tight.
Well, I helped. Yeah, and even my mom, I'd say, was probably from my house to her house is a mile. Anyway, not many people can say that there's that many people in their family that close. And yeah, the furthest anybody got away was to Henderson.
Isn't that funny? I was talking earlier, but we graduate from Boulder City High and we're like, I'm getting out of this small town because, everybody knew everybody and they were telling everybody your business. And then we could not wait to get back to this small town. And so
I helped a lot of those people come back. A lot.
Isn't that funny?
It is funny. It is funny to watch. Used to be, I helped a lot of retired people leave because they wanted to be closer to Las Vegas and such. And I don't have that much anymore. But the one thing I do find is that people are more likely to move where their kids and grandkids are, wherever they ended up. I have a lot of people I help sell their homes so that they can move closer to their kids and grandkids. And if you think back 50 years ago, that wasn't the way it was.
Right.
The grandparents stayed put,
And
the kids and grandkids came to visit.
Right, yeah.
But nowadays, I find that a lot of people move to get closer to their grandkids, which is a great thing.
Right. I wonder, too, if they're not moving into Henderson and Vegas as much once they retire. It's because it's also so much closer now with between the 11 and then Henderson being closer just geographically.
And I was one of those that stayed. I really didn't leave. After I graduated from high school, I had an offer to a nice scholarship to UNLV, and I went there and stayed home and helped with family stuff. And so I was at UNLV, got my undergraduate degree in business, and had an offer to stay as a graduate assistant and get an MBA, and I did that. But I got my real estate license when I was 20 as a sophomore undergraduate, and just something to do part-time. My kind of a funny story, I'd taken a class, and then Bob Boston, I applied for a job with him, and he's the one that thought that I should get a real estate license. Bob Boston was a mayor here.
I was going to say,
in 1980.
So recognize that name. Okay.
Yeah. So he was a great guy to learn from. I worked with him for a few years. Just really, really always one of those guys doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Good guy to learn from. High morals, good ethic, background. And I liked him a lot. So again, great guy to learn from. And in my company, Iris Bletch was still there.
Oh, wow.
Working. Another name. She was on city council here for many years and very, very involved in our community. And a great person to be working with in the day.
A mentor.
Yeah. And I look back now, and all those people were way younger than I thought they were when I was 20.
It's amazing how 80 now does not seem so old.
No, these guys would have been in their maybe 50s. And I thought, they were old. And now I look back, and they were younger than I am now.
Oh, my gosh. That's hard to say.
I know, but it was just wonderful to be around all these people. And after I graduated with my MBA, I did the job interviews, and I realized I enjoyed what I was doing. And I really did that was an aha moment right there when you realize, you know what, I'm just going to do this full time.
And so do you apply that degree in what you do daily in business?
Every day, yeah, I do. A lot of things that I've always really, really specialized in some creative ideas and options. And I have a very strong financial background. And I've helped some people pull off some big projects maybe that they didn't think they could.
Complicated that you could help them work through.
It's been great. Funny story, I ended up buying the business I started at. So I've been at Desert Sun Realty for 37 years now, and I owned it for probably 30 of those years, something like that. And I thought I bought a company that was kind of an established place, and I look back and I go, you know what? They had only existed for 7 years before I bought it, or before I got there, I'm sorry. And so they've been chamber members for 44 years.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
That is awesome. So you need to go back and look in those scrapbooks for their ribbon cutting.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's been great. We did a ribbon cutting when I opened my new office.
I remember.
That was a good one. One of the best things I ever did in business was buy the old Nevada drugstore.
Yes.
And move downtown. I love that. Our office when I started there it's that Hoover Dam Mini Mart down there by Big A Jewelry.
Right.
It was in that became Subway for a while.
Right, it was a Subway, yeah.
Yep. That's where our office started in 1980.
I didn't know that.
Yep. And I was there and till I guess probably around in the early 90s, Bob Boston and I were talking about how much business really came on the highway out there. It seemed like a lot of people just stopped in and wanted to ask questions and get a map and a lot of things that I thought were time wasters. So
more of a visitor center than anything.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
People know you can stop in the real estate office
to get a map.
Yeah, right.
I know. Believe me, that's why we print them.
And we were on one of the first you came to out there on the right side of the road as you come into town. Anyway, so we moved over by Fox's Barbecue in that center.
Oh, yeah.
Where the hospital office is today over there. And we were there for a good long time. I had a few suites I'd kind of grown into, but one day the Nevada Drug was closing down just because, the whole mom and pop drugstores had kind of become a thing of the past with
Right.
the Walgreens and CVS's of the world.
They had tried to transition and a couple different owners. I think
Right.
Conovers were...
Ricky, R-I-C-C-I, was the last owners of it.
Okay.
And he went off in a business compounding drugs and went
Oh,
elsewhere.
got it. Okay.
But the small town mom and pop drugstore was kind of a thing of the past. And the building was boarded up. Somebody busted the front window, and it was sad. But at that era, at that time, the economy was starting to go downhill of the 07, 08 time period.
Scary.
Anyway, there were several vacant buildings around Boulder City that were boarded up at the same time in Old Town. But I know I didn't get a great deal on the building, but it was the only one that would work for me. And I felt like I had to have it.
And isn't that interesting? It spoke to you,
It
and
did.
for all the right reasons.
There's no other building down there that fits for what I wanted to do. Size-wise, most of them are much smaller. It's a big building once you get inside there. And it was, we grew up in Boulder, and you still think about the old drugstore being there.
That's
and
right.
I picture some of the people that worked there,
Sneaking into the movie thinking, you were getting away with something, and it was free.
There you go. There you go.
Like, you dumb kid.
I talked to the guys older than me, like Mike Wells was one. He was telling me stories about how he'd come over and have a drink and a hot dog for 10 cents.
Wow.
There was no cafeteria at the old high school or the
Really?
old school over there. And
Yeah.
anyway, he told
So
me
they would
stories
go
about-
up there. That's crazy. I did not know that.
They had a counter in the Nevada drugstore on would be the east wall over there. When I pulled it all apart, I could see where the counter was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So some of the people, older than us, they remember that very well. It's cool. So to be part of the downtown is just the best thing ever for our business. And for the long time, I had my windows wide open, and I didn't get much done. I'll just say
Yeah, I
that.
was going to say, I'm sorry. I'll apologize now, because every time we'd walk by, headed to City Hall, wave and knock on the window, try to get your attention. And so I totally get it, because I had the same situation in my office, and I have to say I loved it. So
It was awesome. It was.
Yep.
But it's just great to be down there.
And having all of the, so you do the coloring book pages when you have
They're
that
going
for
right now.
Christmas, but then you also have all of the listings. And I think that's brilliant, because right there next to Dillinger, people are getting up from their tables to go look in your windows. So,
I resisted that for a long time because I love the windows. Those are giant.
and they're beautiful.
Yeah. And I love to sit in that conference room and see the theater across the street.
Yes, yeah.
So cool, and see everybody coming and going. And it was probably Art in the Park one year that somebody said, well, we should put our listings in the window. And I go, okay. And I came back after the weekend, and there were fingerprints all over the front windows. And I'm like, that tells me something right there. So we've done it ever since.
Yeah,
and,
I think
and
it's
it is
brilliant.
great, all day long. And we'll be sitting at the conference table in that room, and you hear somebody tapping on the window, and it's them pointing at some house to their wife or
Yes,
whatever.
no, this one. Look at this. This one has this stuff and that stuff. No, I think that's really smart. I think it's a great way for people to have an understanding of what that realty office has to offer as well. And it gives people who are just checking out Boulder City and want to know generally what are the costs, what are the prices. It gives them a way to check it out.
Intro.
So going from the historic district, let's go into the historic mountain and talk about Bootleg Canyon, because I know that happens to be a place that you have left a lot of blood and skin.
It's probably probably 8 years ago, somebody convinced me I needed to check that out. And being a workaholic, as I said I am, it really, really became a great escape. Getting up there early in the morning and going with good friends and good people that I just love to be around every day. It really got to be just a getaway, and it was so valuable to clear your mind. Because, listen, when you're up there riding on some of that terrain, you have to focus, right?
Yeah, one of those trails is called the Kevorkian.
Yeah, I know.
There's a reason for that.
So you do have to focus on what you're doing, and it's one of those things that you're forced to not be thinking about work, and you're not thinking about, that phone call or this phone call you got to make. You're
Or the
focused on
to-do
what
list.
you're doing.
Yeah.
And it really, really, really became a big part of my life. And there for the longest time, we'd ride up there 5-6 days a week. every week. And I don't care what the temperature was, how cold it was. I've got pictures of us riding in 3-4 inches of snow.
Wow.
I know.
Who's us? Does
Beautiful.
Priscilla ride with you?
No.
Oh, good. That was scary.
She has an e-bike that she rides, but latest Jim Parsons rides with
Oh,
me
very
probably
good.
as much as anybody. And
He, too, needs to get away. He's got a lot on his plate, too.
yes, for sure. Good friend named Eric Stafford. Jeff Frampton from All Mountain Cyclery.
Oh, yeah.
He rides with us still, and he was one of the early people to really show me the way, if you will.
And to help preserve that mountain.
For
you know,
sure.
he's
But
really...
if you ride with a guy that has that kind of experience every day, you're going to learn fast. And he was my
He's moving fast.
He was my personal tutor. And,
oh, that's awesome.
And it was great to be around him. And a guy named Steve Danko, you might know, and the last one, Dan Fox, even was involved with.
Oh, very good.
In the very beginning. So great people. And then I, along the way, decided I was going to start racing, and they have some different categories and whatnot. But the young people, you can't keep up with, and I don't try.
So do you race with any of the downhill Mike's, all of his different races? Yeah.
I've got, I don't know, probably 20 number plates from
Wow.
Downhill Mike's. He usually runs about 6 a year, and I catch most of his races every season. This last season, we started a new division. Sometimes
The senior division?
I've done that before. I've raced classic pedal bikes, I've raced e-bikes, and this latest thing we started is called an SL division, which is it's an e-bike light, if you will. It doesn't have full power. You really have to work harder.
Okay.
And so it's a new division we're pushing, because at a certain point I felt like just the e-bikes don't make you work hard enough. So I wanted a little more effort.
Well,
Anyway,
very cool.
It's been a lot of fun. I can't say enough about mountain biking. I do try to keep it reined in a bit and realize, I want to keep riding. I don't bounce back like I used to.
Yeah, exactly. We have to make sure we recognize Brent Thompson and all of his hard work and effort, and his son for all that they did. And they created that opportunity, and it's a world-class mountain biking mountain, and people from all over the world have come to utilize that.
He had a vision and was willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to make it reality. And every day we go up there, we are still part of it. We're riding the same trails that he started there.
Yes.
And when I ride with the people that have been doing it a long time, like Jeff Frampton and some others, it's always cool to hear the ones that were there when he was building and putting the trails together. I came later. I tell people things that went on in the 90s. I was really busy just raising kids,
Right.
and working my tail feathers off. So at that time, that's a time frame that I really didn't. It kind of slips by, right?
Right.
You're all involved with that. There was definitely a window of time I was not really involved in a lot of these things, just because of
life,
having my plate full.
Yeah, life, things that are happening at different stages of your life.
Yeah.
So let's go back to talk about who and what Bret is. What was your first job?
Well, when I was in high school, my brother and I were all about cars. And with that, we bought, fixed up, repaired, raced. We did everything car related.
Really?
Yeah. And Mr. Thurston is one of the few teachers that me, my brother, and my sister all had auto shop. Me and my brother both had 4 years of auto.
Wow.
Because we loved cars so much, right? So anyway, Mr. Thurston was a big part of our lives back then, and still is. We took him out to lunch the other day.
Oh, did you?
Me
Please
and my
tell
brother.
me I said hi. I miss him.
So, great guy. So anyway, to avoid having a real job, part of what we did was we'd buy cars that didn't run, fix them up, and sell them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or had issues. And so instead of flipping houses, we were flipping cars.
That's very cool. You were doing the flipping game before it was even a cool thing to do. That's awesome.
It was whatever we had to do to keep gas in the tank and
not have to really work at one of the fast food restaurants like everybody else.
And I did sports, so you know how that is. When you're really applying yourself as a student and you're doing sports, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time to work, right?
You're right. And it makes it hard for the employer to try to work around all of those things too. So I do understand.
Football was a huge part of my life as a young person. And as a freshman, Kim Booth and we were talking about him earlier. Yeah, we had a great team. We really did. Ben Davis was the coach and everything. And one of the last things I was really, really involved with, we had a game in Tonopah, and it was snowing. And, we're not really equipped for that.
Right.
Here, right? I remember we had fires on the sideline. We were freezing, but I did some permanent damage to my wrist, and it pretty much ended my football career.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was really, really a bummer for me. And
I was still in grade school about that time.
Yeah. I tried making a comeback, and I just couldn't. So I ended up doing some other stuff. We got involved with soccer. That became our big passion, me and several of my friends. And we were latecomers, but we were all in. And soccer became the big passion. And we played it almost year-round.
Well, that's very cool.
We
I
had
didn't
club
realize
soccer
that.
with the Bartons. And
Right.
And high school and varsity and junior varsity soccer. It's fun.
So who is your favorite high school teacher?
Wow.
This one's putting you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot. I had great high school teachers.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were so lucky.
I'd hate to leave somebody out of that list, but I'm going to rattle off a few. Like I said, Mr. Thurston, we loved.
Yes. Mrs. Thurston.
I did not have Mrs. Thurston. Melody, I knew.
You didn't do yearbook?
No. I did student government and sports.
Okay, so Mr. Stewart.
Mr. Stewart, everybody, he was on my list. You didn't have to feed me that one. Mr. Stewart was just a wonderful guy, and everybody went through his class, right?
Yep, -5.
There you go. I would say today, maybe she wasn't my favorite teacher then, but she became my favorite teacher later. Mrs. Phoenix.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. I have a funny story. I was at the hotel having lunch, and she came in, and she had a friend with her, and she wanted to introduce me to her friend, and she goes, "This is Jill Rowland, and I just have to say she has really grown into and is doing so much better at her writing skills." And I was like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm the dummy." What do you say? She was my all-time favorite. I just loved her.
She was tough.
Oh, she was. And I mean, she was what created my love for Shakespeare. I absolutely was in love with it and so grateful I had those experiences. But I mean, we had such great teachers. Mr. Wrestler, Mr. Smell. I mean, think about all of these.
Okay, I was
Mr.
making
Fox.
a list while you're talking there.
I mean, we really lucked out. We had
I loved
some great
Ron
people.
Wrestler.
Oh, he was
Great
so
dude.
amazing.
Mr. Davis, I said, was my football coach.
No, I never had him. We just knew he was coach. Mr. Milburn. Oh my gosh.
And listen, just to be frank, Mr. Milburn, if I look back now, he was 40-something. Australian accent, nice mustache, blonde hair.
All the girls in love with him.
Yes.
Yep, I totally know what you're saying.
Walk into class, and here's just a ring of girls around his desk.
Totally know.
He still looks great today, though.
I know. And isn't that funny? Because we thought of him as these older teachers, and that was back then. And now we see him. I just saw him the other day, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, you look exactly the same.
That guy has some stories, because he started at Boulder City High School when he was in his 20s.
Oh, my gosh.
And he was Australian national basketball team, something. And he came here as a coach and was basically outplaying the kids. And
that is great.
Really neat stories.
I did not realize that. I don't remember that.
To work on that list, you mentioned Mr. Smale. I loved Mr. Smale.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved that guy. He was a car guy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We would, he'd be put on a film or whatever, and then we'd go outside and talk about cars.
Really?
Or we'd sit on the side, and he'd tell me. In his day, he had one of the fastest cars in town, and he would commute to UNR. He went to Reno.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. He has stories,
Wow.
Like having to slow down so the police could catch him, things like
Well, I was very lucky because he was on the cul-de-sac behind me.
Right.
And so we had such great opportunities with the cul-de-sacs.
Super quiet guy.
Yep.
But, man, once you clicked with him, I just loved that guy.
He was great.
We lost him too soon.
I agree.
And I had Mrs. Hodap for 4 years. Now, how many people could say
I
they
did not
had
have
one
her
math
for
teacher for 4 years?
I had her for one, and I dated JJ, and I don't think she liked me after that.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Mrs. Hodap helped me with some math skills for sure, and I would give her credit for that for 4 years.
Didn't they have the business classes in there? Was in her room too, right?
You know what? I don't know.
I think she did a business class.
Could be. All the teachers did something else, right?
Right.
Well, that's
and what
quite a
about
list we put together.
I know. What about Mr. and Mrs. Keene?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. Super, super neat people, both of them.
And we had great people up in the office, and we were lucky. And I loved Mr. Fox. Oh,
Yeah.
my gosh.
All the cheerleaders did.
Well, of course.
He shuttled them around.
He did. And we were like royalty. And it was awesome. And I loved it. I remember going, Tanya Imboden was the captain at that time. And we got to go skiing before the game in Cedar. Wow. I mean, we did some of the coolest stuff. He was just awesome.
Remember the big station wagon you guys used to ride around in?
Yeah. And everybody would call shotgun. I remember thinking, I kind of liked it in the back seat.
Sure.
We loved it. We were very lucky. We had great childhood. So one of my favorite questions to ask everybody is, what is the book you're reading right now?
Oh, man. I got to tell you, at this particular moment, I'm all wrapped up with Christmas stuff. I'm not reading any books right now. That's for certain. Somewhere it starts before Thanksgiving and it goes right till Christmas. I mean, it's pedal to the metal.
That is true.
You know that. How I see before you started doing your thing with the chamber, I used to send a postcard out. Before we had the internet, I'd send a postcard out to everybody in Boulder City with a schedule of events.
Oh.
And for Christmas. Because nobody would think about it. And yeah, it's in the newspaper, whatever, but I would go in people's houses and they'd have my postcard, on the refrigerator.
Right, absolutely.
But like I said, it was before all the stuff that we have today, so now I'd be kind of lost in it. But anyway, that just goes back to the old days. But long and short of it, you think about the Christmas parade that takes a time, and you've got all the events that we try to go to, and I send out about 1,000 Christmas cards a year.
Yes, you do.
And I am personally involved in that process every year. Got to get the perfect picture. I've been sending pictures.
And the quality. You guys always send the most beautiful cards.
I've been sending pictures out since Grant was a baby. So before Summer was born.
Do you have like a wall?
We did a book last year.
Oh,
Priscilla
very
put
cool.
it together for them. But yeah, before Summer was born. But we've had pictures of Grant and Summer, or all four of us, every year for 29 years now. So this could be our 30th year if I think about that.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway.
And Priscilla still looks as beautiful as the first day you guys got married.
Of course. And it's a big deal. And it's hard to find a picture that Grant's fine, but Summer and Priscilla, they have to agree on.
Yeah.
So it's my challenge to put that
Get
perfect picture together. Right? So anyway, I have people all the time tell me, hey, it's a big deal. And
it is. I love it.
I can't let that go.
No.
So anyway, I got that, and I got the office party that we have a pretty big thing every year. Before I get off on too much, I have the most incredible office group, and most of those people, and they are amazing. And there's just love in that place. And we all talk about, this is our office family, the Desert Sun family. It's all family. All of us, almost all of us have kids. Now, many of them are older, but one year we had graduation. I think 5 of us in the office had kids in that same class.
That's
at that
crazy.
time. It was. But anyway, long and short of it, it's a super, super tight-knit group of people there. Everybody loves to be there. We have a lot of functions together. And I just can't say enough about that group of people. And you saw us in the Christmas parade,
yes.
right? And we do the side-by-sides every year. But a certain group always walks through, hands out candy. And just amazing. Amber and Bret, great to be a part of it. Shauna, Lola, I know she's been working with you.
I know, I love her.
She volunteers.
She does a lot, and so does Jace, her son.
Yeah. Mary Jo and Cherry have been both with me for, Mary Jo's probably been with me 28 8 years
Yeah,
now.
what would you do without them?
I don't know.
I don't either, because
They've been with me so long, I don't know.
they
So,
have been absolute icons in that office.
Mary Jo's been with me 28 years-ish, something like that, and Cherry came shortly after. And we were in lunch yesterday talking, and Thursday's a big day. We have our office meetings, and I was in there at lunchtime, and we started talking, and the whole group that was there, we all said, this is the longest that we've ever worked anywhere.
Really?
At my office.
Wow.
Yeah. And Mariana was there. It's just an amazing group of people. I can't say enough about them. Nate been with me for, I met him when he was 20, I think.
And he wasn't even a realtor at that time, right?
No, he was working at Jitters.
That's right. I remember that. And I love getting your annual picture, too. You create that picture. And there's people that are part of your company that I didn't even know. I didn't even know Dan Fox was part of it at one time.
Dan was a very productive realtor in our office. And one day he just said, hey, you know what? I really enjoy cooking and I enjoy competing. And he started doing that. And before he opened his restaurant, he was a competitive barbecue guy.
Right.
So he traveled around and got really involved with that. And it kind of took him away from real estate, but he still has his real estate license. I don't know that he'll ever give that up because it was an important thing for him.
Right. It's kind of a badge of courage. And I think it's a pretty nifty thing that you have so much stick-to-itiveness and longevity. It speaks to volumes of who and what you are, and that you allow them to grow and be who they are and be successful.
Carrie Freeman just came over to the office.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I say just. It's probably been a year ago now. She, of course, grew up here.
Yes.
In the Witt family.
And has had a family business, two different family businesses, between the hair salon, Bliss, and her
Matt's
the
business.
pool business,
Yep.
yeah.
And they did tile cleaning at one time.
That's right.
Bob Crow. Now, Bob is one of those guys that's kind of behind the scenes now, but if you think back, he owned the printing company here in Boulder City, right? Bob has been with me for several years now. I love Bob. He just really, he helps me a lot with different projects on properties and whatnot.
He brings a lot.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned property management earlier.
Right.
Anna's been with me many, many years, and she does our property management in the office. My son Grant got his real estate license while he was still at UNLV. He's a mechanical engineer, but he also has a real estate license just to be able to help some of his friends that are at that age now.
Right.
Buying or moving or
How
whatnot.
cool is that?
Yeah, it's very cool. John Calvert now, my stepson, has been with me for 17 years or so.
Wow.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It really does.
You lose track of these things. Let's see, Mariana's been with me. I lost track of her now. 10, 12 years.
Wow.
Something like that. Remember Dylan Kennelly?
Oh, yeah.
Dylan still has his real estate license at the office, but he's living in Savannah right now, getting ready to get married.
Oh, how sweet. I love Savannah.
Yeah. And he's still active in our market, even though he's not here. He's still very active.
It's amazing what the digital age can do, right?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And then the last one I probably didn't mention is Donna O'Shaughnessy. She has her license at the office, but she's all involved with having a senior in high school this year who's an all-star volleyball player. And
we know how busy that can be.
Yes, we do.
Well, I have loved getting to visit with you a little bit more, learn more about the best of Boulder City's realty office. And
do you have one more minute for a quick story?
Sure, I love it.
You might have to edit something out to make this work. So my latest thing, I've told you about all the other projects I've done, but for the last several years, I've been on the board of trustees for the Boulder City Hospital.
Oh, right. We didn't even mention that. I'm sorry.
I was the president of that for a little while. And they have a gala every year, right? One year at the gala, we were working on trying to put something together. And I mentioned Donna O'Shaughnessy. She helped put together a donation of a ride in a fighter jet.
Oh, my gosh.
I know, huh? And so from the day we got it, I'm like, that would be cool. So anyway, long and short of it's at the auction. Chet Buchanan was up there doing the auction. And Priscilla was sitting behind me. And turns out there were like two other bidders at our table that are dear, dear friends of ours. Anyway,
and then what
Priscilla
do you do?
gave him the stink eye, Anyway, she bought me that.
Oh,
So
cool. I didn't know
the
that.
fighter jet ride along. So that would have been last February, not in 24, but 23. I went to Bozeman and got to ride in the back seat of a fighter jet, and it was a blast.
Did you throw up?
I did not, but I would tell you that 30 minutes was enough. I mean,
Wow.
by the time we landed, I was on the edge.
I bet.
And I talked to the pilot about it, who's a very, very, very interesting fellow. I got to tell you a real quick story. But when I got back down, I'm like, yeah, at a certain point, I became disoriented. He said, well, that happens when we're flying upside down. And I go, wow, I didn't even realize we were upside
No,
down.
you're upside down. Yeah, that's disorientation. That's
Anyway,
the definition.
the funny story is this guy owns fighter jets.
Wow.
And the O'Shaughnessy's introduced us to him, but he's involved with, he started a credit card processing company when he was a teenager.
Wow.
Anyway, he, this year, became the first civilian to walk in space. He was the guy that was all over the news here a couple months ago. His name's Jared Isaacman. He was a pilot and super, super good guy. I just really enjoyed spending time with him. But I just found out last week that he is going to be in charge of NASA.
Oh, and the Trump administration. Yeah. Wow. Well, how cool is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
He was my pilot, just the two of us. And it was just a lifetime experience for sure.
Well, I'm so glad you got to do that and that Priscilla was able to get that for you. But
you can thank her for that.
You'll have to send me those pictures so that we can add those to the show notes.
Will, yeah.
So that's a picture of you in the cockpit?
Watch. It's a quick little video. But again, lifetime experience over Bozeman in snow. And
oh, my goodness.
It just was a riot.
But you know what? I can actually understand why you were disoriented because, look, the sky and the ground are all white and, yeah. Oh, my goodness. That's scary.
And,
I wouldn't do it, but I think it's cool that you did.
Yeah. And last thing I realized as we're sitting here that I've talked about almost everybody, but I know I'm going to leave some people out. But one thing I don't want to leave out is my daughter Summer, who just recently graduated from Claremont Graduate University, and she's got a master's degree in English, and now we're heading off to exciting times of new careers.
How fun.
So
what does she want to do?
I think she'd love to be a professor, but she's got her undergraduate was from Chapman University, where she majored in creative writing. Just an amazing, gifted person. I don't know where it came from, but I've always been on the other side of the world, more mechanical and more, I don't know. But she is very artsy and very gifted as a writer.
I find myself as ChatGPT and all of the AI things become more of a thing. I am so impressed with and have so much more respect for those that have true creativity and true abilities like that. That skill is just such an impressive asset that we still need to make sure that we respect because we don't have, it's just going to get so lost in the big picture.
I haven't read that much, but what I've read from ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, it's recognizable from what I see. But a truly gifted writer is amazing to me.
Oh, yes. The way that they can communicate, share words, communicate a message, and you're just like, oh, yeah, I totally get it because of the way they shared it.
I did have to share some of her writing with Mrs. Phoenix.
Oh, very good.
Who was impressed, so.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, don't send her any of mine because apparently that did not do good. I think that is so hysterical, but she was so gracious and you just, when she would speak, you would listen.
Mrs. Phoenix?
Yes.
What a dialect and so proper.
Yes.
And put herself together every day. I mean, she was a role model, I think, to a lot of people, just true professionalism.
Yes.
I loved her for that reason. Tough class, don't get me wrong, because that wasn't my strong suit. I was more of the math end of things. But I was...
Mr. Shea.
Oh.
When you said math, I had to go. I could not have Mr. Schulteis. Yes.
Leslie Harvey told me he dropped in the credit union just this week.
Oh, I saw him maybe 2 weeks ago. He was dropping Peggy Levitt off. He's married to her sister.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Yep. They're Rolands, by the way. Yes, Peggy Levitt. Yeah, her maiden name is Roland.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, small world.
Yes, and Barney was dropping them off, which is so weird for me to call him Barney, by the way, but was dropping her off. They had just had lunch.
I heard he's in his 90s now.
Wow.
And Mrs. Phoenix has had some health issues recently,
Oh,
if you
no,
haven't heard.
I didn't.
Yeah, and prayers and thoughts go out to her.
Absolutely. Oh, we can't forget Coach Strachan either.
Oh, yeah. So Strachan, the funny thing is, he's the last teacher at Boulder City High School that was there when I was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that he went to Boulder City High School.
Yes,
That
think
is
about
so
that.
cool. And then his son's teaching at Boulder City High School.
And he's got everybody by a long shot. But yeah, so the only other teachers at Boulder City High School we have any ties with were kids we went to school with.
Right. Which is what it was when we were there. It was the kids my mom and dad went to school with.
Yeah, think about that.
So, yeah.
Mr. Fox, Mr. Thurston, David Shea, Mrs. Phoenix.
Yeah, they all had stories.
All those people went to Boulder City High School. Isn't that neat, though?
It is. It
It's
absolutely
special.
is. Yeah, we have a lot of great history. Mm-hmm. The Rances that all came through there as well. Not teachers, but yeah, amazing. Well, this has been fun. It's been fun going down Memory Lane and also learning a little bit more about all the things you guys have going on and talking about the
Before I
great things.
go, I have to congratulate you for the Bill Andrews Award.
Oh, thank you.
I love that. That is near and dear to my heart. I love Bill Andrews. I knew him. I would consider him a friend and just a genuine good person. And the fact that's named after him is a great thing. But that is probably the biggest honor you can get as a Boulder City resident.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I was very honored, and I know that there are plenty others that deserve it, and I can't wait to see who the future nominees and award winners are. But it's always nice to be recognized.
It
and
is.
so
It is.
huge thank
That's a
you.
good one, though.
Yeah, I'm very, very humbled. So, well, thank you for mentioning it. I appreciate that. And so glad that you got to be here. And congratulations on your 2-year reigning Best of Boulder City. And so to many, many more years of all of your community support, business support, and just being a wonderful Boulder City resident.
Every transaction we close in our office, we set aside a chunk of money to just give back as a group, not me, but as our group at Desert Sun Realty, and we rarely say no. So whether it's the high school emergency aid, lend a hand, the hospital senior center, there are so many great things in Boulder City, and we are very, very proud to be a part of it. It's, I don't know, to see the people that are volunteering in those places, I mean, how could you not support them, right?
Right.
And the good work that they do. So anyway, everybody in my office is all in on that. Every deal, like I said, every time somebody utilizes my office for any real estate service, you are also contributing to these great causes. And that is what we're super proud of. And the fact that to be a part of the community, truly a part, and to see people keeping business in Boulder City, that's your biggest job, right, is convincing people. And I've had an ad running for years in the Home Guide, support the businesses that support our community.
Right.
You can't undervalue that. If you don't support those businesses that are supporting, then, shame on you, really. And we're talking about everything. I mean, think how many T-ball teams,
Right.
Ace Hardware, or True Value Hardware has sponsored.
That is the truth.
Forever.
Yes.
Forever, and we're so fortunate to have these small businesses in Boulder City when all around the world, around the country, they're going away. And it's amazing what you can buy in this town. But when you spend money in town, it helps these guys and these gals give back.
Right.
And if you don't do that, then you're sending your money elsewhere. And to the schools, think where the schools would be today if they didn't have the support of this community and the businesses that give back and the emergency aid and lend a hand and senior center. All these places count on the businesses of Boulder City
Right.
to keep them afloat.
That's exactly right.
And if you're not
Thinking,
patronizing those businesses, then you're not helping like you
keeping
could.
them in mind when you're looking for different things, and then doing a little bit of homework. It might not be as easy as picking up your phone and clicking through Amazon, but it gives you a little bit of time to understand who and what they're all about, and to get to know those business owners. I recently was able to have Cards of Glee. I am absolutely in love with that little business, and getting to know these individuals a little bit more, it reminds me to make sure I get out and shop local. I am passionate about that, obviously, for all the right reasons, but I think all of us should be, because like you said, it's a quality of life thing. If we want these businesses to exist, we're going to have to give them a little support. And we saw that. We saw that during COVID. Remember all of the different shop local programs that kind of came up, and they were getting together on social media platforms, and they were telling things about, don't forget this, and hey, we're going to run over and everybody meet in this parking lot. We're going to pick up food from this place. We get together, we support each other, we take care of one another. And so shopping local is just one more way to do that.
Yes, and it's in so many ways. But don't forget how much those people and those businesses help this community in so many ways.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for being here.
I would love to come back anytime, Jill.
We would love to have you, and maybe we'll invite Miss Priscilla next time so she can give us some more inside scoop into who and what Bret Runion really is.
She'd love that, and she's been around a long time too and seen a lot. And the one thing about her is how many young ladies she helped over there at Dance Etc.
I know. I was one of them. That's where I fell in love with her, and so I absolutely agree.
We have kind of a funny thing. Before we met, we were in two different circles, so we had different
friendship
bases
groups.
of people.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of cool. She's introduced me to some people I didn't know, and how many of these young ladies who aren't that young anymore, but know her as Miss Priscilla from Dance Etc. because she worked there for so long, and it's really, really a neat thing. Another Boulder City story.
It's what makes Boulder City who and what it is, and why we all love it and are so proud of it.
You bet. I could talk about Boulder City as long as you can.
I must say, it's kind of dangerous.
Out first.
Oh, thank you for being here. We sure appreciate you.
You bet, Jill. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
This episode of the Best Damn Podcast has been a production of the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce, brought to you from I&I Music and Podcast Studios. Please check out all the links and social media handles on our website as well at bouldercitychamber.com. You can find the Best Damn Podcast on all your favorite podcast directories. Like us and share on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until next time, discover, explore, and unwind in Boulder City.